Okay, Christine, you're the manager of the lab at the Flower Hospital, Sylvania, Ohio, for ProMedica, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Um,
Actually, laboratory supervisor, but
Copy that. Yeah,
yeah.
duly noted. And we'll start off. What do you think makes a good manager? Just
Um,
go. Yeah.
I think a good manager has to have the ability to not only listen but communicate. They have to have empathy. They have to be able to be engaged by their or with their employees, and I think they need to have their employees trust them and respect them. And
Do you have like a management style that you would kind of consider your own?
yeah, well, my management style goes right along with my personality. It's kind of I have the stern hand when I need to, but I like to create an environment where my employees feel as if they can come to me. I have an open door policy, and I also try and create an environment where if you're going to come to me with a complaint, I'd like you to come to me with your suggested solution to the problem as well, so that it creates an environment where employees feel as if they have a voice.
Yeah. What I mean, beyond sort of cultivating your own style of leadership, I mean, just it's sort of open. What do you like about being a manager? Would you say? I mean, if you had to go on it.
I like the sense that I'm contributing in my position as just a medical laboratory scientist. While I was contributing in a different way, I like feeling as if I have a seat at the table and I have more of a say now, and I have the ability to um, navigate things differently and have the answers to the questions of why, instead of, you know, now I'm the one that kind of decides what why is.
Mm. Did you? I mean, you've been with ProMedica for like 10 years ish now. I mean, was it always your intention to be a manager there, or what was sort of the goal when you started out?
No, I never intended on being a manager there, and I actually talked myself out of applying for the supervisor position a couple of times prior to getting it this time. And my sense in prior times was that I didn't know enough, and I didn't feel like I had enough to bring to the table. And this last time that I applied, I felt like I was in a position to accept the next challenge and have the skills and knowledge behind me to do the job the way that it needed to be done.
Yeah. How did you get where you are? I mean, what was that? What was the timeline like on that? I mean, starting out at ProMedica, starting from your entry level position there
I
up to
Yep.
where you're at now.
I spent 6.5 years answering the phones at the main hospital, and then decided the thing I was going to pluck off my bucket list was to get my degree, which I hadn't done yet. So I went back to college for 3.5 years to become a
That
medical laboratory scientist.
local university or
Yep,
yeah.
at University of Toledo. And then after 3.5 years, I did my clinicals at Flower Hospital. And before I was even done with my clinicals, they had offered me a position there, and I've been there ever since. And spent the last 5 years being a medical laboratory scientist, and then deciding to move into a management role.
Yeah, it's all been within the same system, just different departments, any different locations in there as well.
Yeah, I was at ProMedica Toledo Hospital, where I answered the phone for 6.5 years, and now I'm at ProMedica Flower Hospital in Sylvania, where I've been for the last 5+ years.
Okay. So do you have any common features that you look for, common personality traits that you look for in somebody to work under you? I always say, that person's Chick-fil-A material, or they're not Chick-fil-A material. I mean, what makes someone in your mind Chick-fil-A material?
I think those Chick-fil-A people are way too nice.
Yeah, there's that.
I need
yeah.
somebody with a little bit better spine than that. I look for somebody who who demonstrates in their interview process the willingness to be able to work within a group. And then also somebody who is who presents the character traits where they are looking to grow, they're looking for longevity, they're looking to stay, in one place. I don't necessarily look for somebody who doesn't see themselves being in a position in my hospital for, for the long haul. I don't want to take the time to train somebody and get somebody within our system and then have them jet off. So
yeah. Do you look for any individual person? I mean, do you want somebody with a ton of energy, little energy, or is it kind
heck
of just...
yeah. In my profession, you have to be willing to move and you have to be willing to multitask.
Yeah.
So, multitasking is huge for me. All the laboratory scientists in our lab are generalists, so they have to be able to move from department to department and be willing to do that. We've got some old school people that kind of plant themselves in a department in the morning, and that's where they stay all day. And I'm looking to bring new blood into the hospital that's willing to be a little bit more flexible and accommodating. So multitasking, flexibility, those types of things are important to me.
Is there anything as far as how would you gauge someone's ability to work in a team just during an interview process? Obviously, it's tough to tell until you get somebody out there. But is there anything?
It is tough because you sit down with somebody in an interview, and there's a lot of people who know exactly the right things to say, and then you bring them in, and they're not everything that they said that they were on paper. So I tend to be a good judge of character. That's not to say that I haven't made mistakes. But you ask the right questions, you look at their prior history, you want to see somebody who's been within jobs for, lengths of time, speaks well to their character and their employment, their value as an employee. You don't want somebody who's had, 10 jobs in the last 4 years. That doesn't really speak well to them as an employee. So,
have you ever gotten any great advice about being an effective manager outside of academia? Maybe just from someone you worked with in the past, or someone you know personally, anything along those lines?
In my position now, I've had 2 managers and 3 supervisors prior to myself, and I've observed a lot. And I think the one thing that I have taken away that I've said from each supervisor in the past was that they didn't communicate well. That isn't that they didn't do the job well, but I think that I'm full disclosure Christine. So I would rather have everything out on the table. I'd rather have my people know the whys and the reasons why things are the way they are. If we're making a change, why? I just think that you cultivate an environment of your employees feeling as if they're involved, and management is not just ruling. And I think that that's always that was really great advice that somebody gave me was and what I've observed is just to make sure you're communicating with your employees.
We have at the plant I work at a big whiteboard we use that's really cut down on issues of communication. It's something simple. I mean, do you have anything as far as improving the flow of communication that you would sort of recommend? Maybe anything unorthodox, beyond just email trains, anything?
We do a morning huddle every day. Okay. So whoever's there on first shift at 10 o'clock every morning, we also have a whiteboard where we keep things updated, and we pull everybody in the morning, and it's an opportunity to have to let people know what's going on, but then to also have the opportunity to hear people. When I took my position, I also changed my hours so that I was there from 6 to 2:30, which management had not done in the past. So that gives me the opportunity to touch base with first, second, and third shift every day, Monday through Friday, which the third shifters, they don't see a suit, and I think they kind of liked it that way. Yeah. But this way it gives me the opportunity to be there for them if they have an issue or if there's something that needs to be addressed. And I think that is also something that was really important and a great valuable change that I made when I took the supervisor position.
What was the transition like between your time just as a lab tech and then to more of a management role?
I would say the biggest hurdle I had in making that leap was going from being a peer to a supervisor, and you know, having to sit down and having those tough conversations with people that I used to sit around and shoot the breeze with, and you know that they were, you know, just, you know, I was just one of them, and
Yeah.
you know, so making that transition, and there's some people that have been in our lab for 30 or 40 years, and you know, here comes me who they trained, you know, and that's tough, especially with the older crowd, to, you know, get them to, that was a tough transition to get them to accept me as their boss instead of just their peer. And you know, I'm not going to say it was easy, and I'm not going to say it didn't take time, but I took the position with those people respecting me, and I think that that made a huge difference in being able to make that transition. And yeah, so I think that that was the toughest thing from going into the supervisor position, from just being on the floor.
Did you pretty much know everybody in the lab before you transitioned, or was it? I mean, you were on third shift for quite a while. I mean, did you know everybody there, or were you almost meeting a couple of new faces?
No, because I was also second shift before that, and so there's nobody in the lab that I don't know. There's maybe some phlebotomists that, you know, come in from other hospitals that I'm not as familiar with. The thing that was hardest for me was knowing the key players outside the lab. So supervisors of other departments, supervisors of the floors, you know, the resources that I had. Who do I go to in human resources to figure out, you know, why this employee is getting away with what they're getting away with, or you know, whatever. So that was the biggest thing, was finding those key players outside of the lab that were going to make my life much easier, or sometimes much more difficult, in knowing, you know, how to handle those people.
Okay. Well, that's all the questions we got. I appreciate the time, Christine. Wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you very much.